Joined.
Ryan.
Right.
And there's Ryan.
Madam Secretary, if you're ready to go, and Director Walker, if you're ready to go, I think we should get underway and try to be done so we can listen to the governor's press conference. Is that agreeable for everybody?
Yeah, I'm sending a Skype message to my staff right now that we're ready.
Okay.
There's sure a
Okay,
lot of echoing going on.
Mr. Treasurer, can I clarify one thing? I just want to clarify, I'm not here on behalf of the governor. My understanding is I am here as the land board assistant. Just
Yes,
one
I'm
tiny point
sorry.
of clarification. Yep. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for that correction. And if anybody if you could mute your lines while you're not talking, that would be great. I think it'll cut down on some background noise. Okay.
Vicki?
Yes.
Yes, this is Bev. I didn't know if you knew, and I'm not sure he's on yet, but Cameron Smith was planning on joining us, my new chief of staff.
Okay.
I think he's just gonna watch on YouTube.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Director Walker.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Aaron, I sent you a Skype message. Are we ready to go online? Aaron is typing a message. We are live. All right.
All right.
Mr. Treasurer.
Madam Director, let's call the meeting of the State Land Board to order. It's April 14th. We're at just past 10:30. The governor is, as you know, preparing for her press conference. So you have me and Secretary of State. We're going to endeavor to finish what looks to be a relatively straightforward agenda in time to listen to the governor's press conference at 11. And with that, I will invite your explanation of our first agenda item, please.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Chair. The first item is a consent item, request for approval of the minutes of February 4, 2020 State Land Board meeting.
Thank you, and I realized I should have allowed you, Madam Secretary, to identify and introduce yourself for our listening public as well.
Yes, Vicki Walker, Director of the Department of State Lands.
Thank you, and Madam Secretary, thank you for joining us as well.
Yes, Treasurer Reed, I would move approval of the minutes.
Thank you. Secretary Clarno moves approval of the minutes. The chair seconds approval of the minutes. Madam Secretary, anything you'd like to say in the discussion element?
No,
Hearing
that's
none.
fine.
Thank you. I'm going to suggest that since the two members who are present moved and seconded, that support for the motion is unanimous, and therefore it passes. That takes us to our second item, Madam Director.
All right, thank you, Treasurer Reed. Item number 2 is the issue is whether the State Land Board should approve a request from Oregon State University for a 20-year easement to maintain the fiber optic cables and conduits crossing the territorial sea. The authorities are set out below. The application was circulated to adjoining property owners and various permitting agencies. 2 comments were received, one from a landowner adjacent to the site who was supportive. Another was received from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife with recommendations that were incorporated into the easement terms. The applicant has coordinated with the fishermen involved in Natural Energy Committee, also known as FINE, and those folks represent a variety of fisheries that are in place to look at the placement of ocean wave energy facilities to ensure that those local fisheries are considered during construction and operations of the PacWave South project, which is the name of this particular project. The easement is for the right to construct, maintain, operate, and replace a fiber optic communication cable and associated conduits over, upon, and under the territorial sea. Oregon State University is developing a wave energy test site, PacWave South. The test site is approximately 7 miles off the coast of south of Newport. The site will be on the outer continental shelf. There were several criteria for selecting the offshore wave energy test site. Those are displayed, outlined for you in the agenda item. Additionally, there were several criteria for selecting the cable landing site, and the cable route selection was based on avoidance of sensitive habitat, maximization of the likelihood of successful cable burial, geophysical and geotechnical data, and the shoreside cable landing site location. The department received the application fee of $5,000 on September 9, 2019, and pursuant to OAR 141-123-0060 sub 6 sub B, gas, electric, and communication line easements located outside the city limits are exempt from compensation. However, easements may be issued pursuant to a term-based payment, but that is not anything that we need to approve here because no compensation is required at this time. In the past, as you know, some entities applying for a territorial sea easement have paid a consideration fee to remove a future imposition clause from the leasing agreement should the legislature impose one. However, in this case, Oregon State University has elected not to do so. So therefore, our recommendation is the Department of State Lands recommends that the State Land Board approve a term easement to Oregon State University to maintain and operate fiber optic cables and associated conduits on, over, under, or across the territorial sea, landing at the Driftwood Beach State Recreation Site, south of Newport, in Lincoln County, pursuant to the terms and conditions of the easement 62235-EA, which is enclosed herein as Appendix A.
Thank you, Madam Director. Madam Secretary.
Mr. Treasurer, I move item number 2 under the consent items. Move approval.
Thank you. Secretary Connor moves approval of the staff recommendation that the Land Board approve a term easement to Oregon State University to maintain and operate fiber optic cables and associated conduits on, over, under, or across the territorial sea, landing at Driftwood Beach State Recreation Area south of Newport in Lincoln County, pursuant to the terms and conditions of the easement. The chair seconds the motion, and I would particularly comment that I appreciate the inclusion of the Fishers group in this process, as always. Madam Secretary, any comments you want to make?
No, second.
Thank you.
Second my motion.
Thank you. Very good. So the Secretary has moved, the Chair has seconded. Again, 2 members being present having indicated their support. The support is unanimous and the motion is approved. Thank you, Madam Director. Takes us to item number 3.
All right, thank you so much. Item number 3, the issue at hand is whether the State Land Board should authorize the direct sale of 34.06 acres of subsurface minerals and geothermal rights in Tillamook County, and that is in your packet as Appendix A. The authorities are set out below, and I'll detail the tax lots in the final recommendation because that's a lot to say, so I'll just say it once. This application was received by the department on May 21, 2019 from North Coast Land Conservancy, requesting the release of approximately 34.06 acres of subsurface mineral and geothermal rights held by the State Land Board. As I said, that's in Appendix A. No public comments were received on this application. The applicant is purchasing the surface rights of the property through Federal and Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board grants. The property has been owned by the Tillamook Shooters Association and is being purchased for permanent conservation and salmon habitat restoration through improvements to tidal wetland functions and hydrology. The Conservancy must acquire the mineral rights from the Department of State Lands. We have received a report from Dogami, Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, on the mineral resource potential. The report conclusion states that the property has low mineral resource potential. Department policy is to sell subsurface minerals and geothermal rights with de minimis value at the rate of $10 per acre. The sale price for this transaction is $340. Therefore, the department recommends the State Land Board approve the direct sale of the subsurface minerals and geothermal rights to the North Coast Land Conservancy, located in Tillamook County at Township 2 South, Range 10 West, Section 1, a portion of tax lots 1,000, 1,100, and 1,200.
Thank you, Madam
Thank
Director.
you.
Madam Secretary. Oh, sorry. Someone.
Yeah, sorry. This is Bill Ryan. Sorry, I
Mr. Ryan,
wanted
please.
to make a one correction. We actually had no adverse public comments received. We did receive two comments, one from a adjacent property owner who was just curious what the sale was about, and then also sort of a standard comment from the Warm Springs tribe saying that if groundbreaking disturbance occurs in the future, that a cultural resource survey should be done.
Bill,
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I have that on agenda item 4. So I'm not sure which one you're addressing. Agenda item 4 is the John Day Bridge, and that's the one that shows the public involvement from the tribe.
Well, I think we got that same comment from the tribe there, but let me confirm. I want to make sure I'm not getting my wires crossed.
Okay, 'cause I'm not showing any comment in number 3.
We can stand by for a moment, but certainly we will endeavor to be sensitive to those concerns wherever they are expressed and wherever they're appropriate.
Yeah, Director Walker, I'm seeing these are comments that were received online for the mineral rights sale. So,
Okay.
but no adverse ones. So sorry that wasn't clear in the agenda item.
Okay, I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Ryan. We'll make sure that that's part of the record and part of the process going forward. Madam Secretary.
Yes, Chair Reed, I would move the request for approval of direct sale of the 34.06 acres of subsurface minerals and geothermal rights located in Tillamook County.
Thank you. Secretary Clarno moves approval of the recommendation that the Land Board approve the direct sale of subsurface minerals and geothermal rights to the North Coast Land Conservancy in Tillamook County. Chair seconds the motion. I assume that any further comments, Madam Secretary?
No, I just wanted a clarification on the Warm Springs tribe. Is that the comments were just if any future work was done that they wanted the work done that would be consider what they would feel would be important at this time.
I think that's a fair summary, but Mr. Ryan can further clarify, I think.
Yes, Secretary Clarno, that's correct. The tribes, will frequently review our public notices and just indicate if the transaction was in a location that's, of interest to the tribes, that they recommend cultural resource surveys be done if there's a groundbreaking activity. And so our standard practice in that case is to let the applicant or purchaser know that of the tribe's interest and make sure that they're informed of that request.
Thanks for the
Thank you, Mr.
clarification. I appreciate the clarification. I just wanted to be sure that the tribes were not opposing this sale. Thank you.
Absolutely, I appreciate your clarification of the comment. So the motion has been made to approve. The chair has seconded, and again, two members present expressing support indicates that the support is unanimous, and therefore the motion carries. Thank you, and we'll move to our last item in the action category, number 4, please.
All right, Mr. Chair, this issue is our last one on the agenda for action items. Whether the State Land Board should approve a request from Clatsop County for a permanent easement to build, operate, and maintain a bridge crossing of the John Day River on John Day River Road near Astoria. And I'll get to your history lesson of the day here shortly. The authorities are set out below. Clatsop County applied for a permanent easement for construction, operation, and maintenance of a 55-foot concrete bridge at the crossing of John Day River Road over the John Day River near Astoria. And this is your history lesson, because when I was talking with the secretary in our pre-briefing, I said, I didn't know the John Day River went all the way to Clatsop County. And so when I mentioned that to you as well, Mr. Chair, your assistant, Meredith Koba, quickly got online, and we learned that there are 2 John Day rivers in Oregon named for John Day. John Day was a member of William Price Hunt's Astoria Overland Expedition of 1811 to 1812. Lewis and Clark called this lower John Day River Kiki Marquis Creek, their interpretation of the Indian name for the river. The Eastern Oregon John Day River is a tributary of the Columbia River, approximately 284 miles long in northeastern Oregon. Undammed along its entire length, the river is the 3rd longest free-flowing river in the contiguous United States, which is just really incredible. So this river that we're talking about is a mere 6 miles long, and I appreciate the history lesson for the day. The proposed bridge will replace 2 48-inch culverts. Replacing those culverts, as you know, will provide better upriver passage of salmonid species and allow for emergency vehicle and public access to property along John Day River Road and Schultz Lane. The easement will allow Clatsop County to operate and maintain the bridge. In agreement with OAR 141-123-0060 sub-11, no compensatory payment was paid for the easement area. The bridge is county-owned and falls outside of city limits. As allowed in OAR 141-123-0050 sub-6 sub-A, the easement application was not circulated for public comment. The corresponding removal fill application, however, was circulated for 30 days beginning January 26, 2019, ending February 24, 2019. The department received a comment from the Tribal Historic Preservation Office of the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs Reservation of Oregon. Their concerns were with the potential effects to historic properties or cultural resources within the project area. So they recommended that the county put in place an inadvertent discovery plan for human remains, items of cultural patrimony, and intact archaeological deposits in place in advance of project implementation, and that construction crews are trained and briefed on the contents and importance of the IDP, which is the inadvertent discovery plan. This comment was addressed through the terms and conditions of the county's removal fill permit, and we were happy to do that. The recommendation of the department is that the State Land Board approve the permanent easement to Clatsop County, file number 62338-EA, to build, maintain, and operate a bridge over and across the John Day River on John Day River Road, Clatsop County, Oregon.
Thank you, Madam Director. Madam Secretary.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute, and I was telling you this
No
great
problem.
story. I appreciate.
We're happy to hear it.
I appreciate the history lesson. Yes, Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the permanent easement for a bridge over submerged and submersible lands in the John Day River within Clatsop County.
Thank you. Secretary Clarno moves approval of the recommendation that the Land Board approve the permanent easement to Clatsop County to maintain and operate a bridge over and across the John Day River in Clatsop County. I share your appreciation of the history lesson and Ms. Koba's contribution to it, and I second the motion. Madam Secretary, any comments you want to add? I feel like I always have to ask that, you know, in the here's the motion, here's the discussion, and then the objection. So any further comments you'd like to make?
Just a little bit of comment about the history lesson. When Director Walker called me and discussed this John Day River, I was very surprised, as my husband's family homesteaded on the John Day River over here in eastern Oregon, the Long River, at Toronto, Oregon, which is on the map. And so I didn't know there was another John Day River, so we'll not be so smug about our own John Day River over here. So thank you.
Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Madam Secretary. I would humbly suggest that the 284 miles versus 6 miles is not a close competition, so you're on solid ground in that respect, too. So the motion has been made and seconded, and again, given that the two land board members present have expressed their support, the vote is unanimous and the motion carries, and that completes our action items and takes us to informational items and other, Madam Director.
Great, thank you, Treasurer Reed. I appreciate that. And we're at 20 minutes, which is what I thought we would do today. So I'll make this very brief. I just want to remind everyone that our next meeting is June 9th, and likely we may be doing this by phone again. I do want to say that I appreciate my staff working very hard, the IT staff as well as our communication staff and my assistant in terms of getting us set up and running for this teleconference and allowing for any interested party to email in advance or during the meeting. And they're all listening on YouTube, so they have the opportunity to do that. I will report to you that no one has sent in any comments during the meeting. Our next meeting after June will be at the South Slough on August 11th, and that all depends on what happens with this coronavirus, as you well know. And I will also tell you the June meeting, I'll jump back, is for our land board awards. So we're going to have to figure out a way to manage that, so if we're still doing conference calls, that we actually have a visual that we can see our land board award winners. And we'll work on that between now and June. Other than that, I think that is it from the department today.
Thank you, Madam Director. We at Treasury are going to use the Microsoft Teams application for an investment council meeting in the next couple of weeks, so we can report back to you how well that works, and perhaps that'll be an option for the awards. Madam Secretary, anything for the good of the order?
Nothing. Thank you very much.
Oh, and Mr. Treasurer, I think we should note who's present for the record. I didn't do that. Jason Miner, Land Board Assistant to Governor Brown, Andrea Chapala for the Secretary of State, and Ryan Mann for your office, and Matt DeVore, our counsel, have all been present on the phone during this meeting. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
And Bill Ryan from my office.
And Madam Director, please extend our thanks to your team for making this possible. There are all kinds of examples of people being flexible and agile. This is yet another, and we hope that everyone continues to stay safe, stay home, wash your hands, and hopefully we'll all be together in person before too long for our future meetings. And unless there's anything else, I will adjourn the meeting, and thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Vicki?
Jason.
Tobias Reed.
Bev Clarno.